we'll just go straight into a panel discussion of the issues, both international and local, that have been raised in the course of this program. And I would like to start with you, Chike Ogea, from Professor Bolaji Akinyemi to Chief Olabode George, and to Prince of Ibokun Diron Odeyemi.
Well, you know, the issues are varied. We started off, if you can remind me, from the international perspective of, what was the first one?
Ketanji
exactly. I think that's the major one, and that's the one I will just comment on briefly. I'll leave the one to France to the diplomat extraordinary in the House that can give us the meat on that, Professor Bola Akintayo. But in the case of Ketanji, that was a wonderful day for America, if you ask me. If they have come all the way from Trump to this in such a short time, that tells you the kind of progress they have made. I mean, I was looking at those videos Professor Akinyemi alluded to, and I didn't know whether to cry or what to feel. How people can come, you know, men of proven stature, men that have, because you need to understand what it takes to be in the Senate of the United States of America, and then they open their mouths and say these wonderful things about this lady who her CV is there for all to see, like Professor said, Harvard Law School, which is the ultimate, you know, and at 53, she had shown such brilliance. But basically what they are saying to us, they're just re-emphasizing the kind of institutional racism that underlies, you know, the belly of the American politics. They say to us, she's such a wonderful lady, she has all these great credentials, but I'm sorry, I have to say no. I mean, what does that mean? But I am happy those three Republicans, you know, moved across the aisle and ensured by 53 to 47 that she got, you know, confirmed. And I think it's a great day for America. And I'm sure she will prove her mettle and show the world, not just America, that indeed competence has nothing to do with the color of her skin. So to that extent, I personally am elated, I'm sure, like any, you know, human being will be on earth, except those that are obviously been eaten deep. Their bodies and fabrics are into, you know, this kind of institutional racism I talked about. I'm sure everybody else, black or white, will be happy whenever competence, and then you're breaking new barriers. You're getting a woman of, you know, into the Supreme Court, and you're sure you're putting someone who will do the right thing. You know, that for me is a great day. Then, of course, when we come to the situation of the PDP, you know, if you want me to comment on that immediately, basically, you know, I don't think our politics have ever stood on the kind of balance we are now. Because, you see, even the PDP itself, that's the only party I've been in, you know, I keep reiterating that. I'm sure never expected that they will be in a situation such as this, in the sense that they have been out of power. And you see, in third world countries, you know, Nigeria being a major one, power is the oxygen. When you're in government, really, that's the oxygen that gives life to the party. So for a party that is practically, you know, almost going out of life, to be in this quandary of, we are talking about zoning, we are not talking about zoning, you will have thought that all they needed to do at a point in time like this is to put their best foot forward and get the APC out. Well, we all have seen how the APC has performed. It is, I mean, the jury is already out, but these things are not that clear-cut, was it Chief Bode George, or I think it was Odeyemi, that alluded to the fact that we will meet them even if they want to rig, you know. But in all of it, the thing that gladdened my heart, but I hope it's not fake news, was something I read, I think late last night or early this morning, and it was a statement from Alhaji Atiku Abubakar. And I think that surmised exactly where we are in this thing. That is why I will always have so much respect for that man as a leader. And basically what he said is that if my party, because of course they have told us that National Executive Committee or Council has to approve whatever Governor Tom and Co had done. So he says, if after that final situation, the party says we are zoning this to the southwest, to the southeast, he will throw in the towel and support whoever the candidate that will emerge from the southeast. He said, but aside from that, if the party says they are throwing to the southwest, where there is a Fayose already contesting and trying to, that what happened to Obasanjo, when was Obasanjo president, that a Fayose is coming to talk about being president again, or and Amechi is coming to talk about being president shortly after a Jonathan, then in that case, nobody should fault him for that kind of reasoning. So what I think is that, really and truly speaking, if we really want to nip this in the bud, we should get a very strong Southeast candidate that the party can back. And if we cannot do that, then let the best person come forward that will be able to get the party back in power. That, for me, is what I think makes sense.
Okay, Professor Akinterewa, let me come to you. If you could start with the elections in France. You haven't gone to the University of Sorbonne, and with very strong French connections.
Well, on French elections, I think there is the need to emphasize 2 points. The first point is the semi-presidential system in France, which requires 2-round election. The first round, the purpose of the first round is to establish what they call the democratic principle. They want to ensure that nobody, no candidate is prevented from participating. So it is open to all eligible candidates as presented by the various political parties. So the principle is that the 2 candidates with the highest scores will now go to the second round. Even though there is a provision that more than 50%, that is, if you score 51%, then there wouldn't be need for second round. But the purpose, according to Maurice Duverger, a notable professor of political science, had made it clear that what the French really wanted by providing that and deriving that one from the 1958 Fifth Republic Constitution is to ensure that the freedom, the right of everyone is respected, and that truly they want to establish the French, decision. So in this case, as we have 12 competing candidates, the ultimate goal now is to see, is there any one of them who can really have 51%? And they know that in most cases, I do not think that generally since 1958 to date, it's very difficult. We've not had 51%. So the second round now, it is expected that the followers of the 10 other candidates, that is, minus the 2 candidates with the highest scores, will apply the principle of laudacis tomo. That is, according to which you will withdraw and you will ask your supporters to give their votes to your own choice. They do that. So the second round will enable the establishment of the candidate who has the greatest support of the French public. So when Ruben rightly asked, and Professor Akinyemi also rightly and cautiously speculated that, look, he wouldn't want to bet, he wouldn't want to say that, well, it may be very difficult. He's to a great extent very right. But you see, the second point to which I want to draw attention to, which is relevant, is that French politics, when it comes to the second round, is largely defined by the competence shown at the last debate. It is the debate, presidential debate, that normally defines. And I'm able to say this on the basis of the experience of Georges Marchais, the leader of the Communist Party, and with Francois d'Estaing. By that time, the communists signed an agreement with the socialists. By that time, with the François Mitterrand, they signed an agreement. They call it, common agreement. according to which by that time they will apply the principle of desistement. But during that particular debate, one journalist, one questioner, asked George Marchais or told George Marchais that, look, in 1871, your father, and then during the Second World War, your own father, the great-grandfather for 1871, his immediate father during the Second World War said, look, he escaped. He ran away from the war front. And you now, you want to be president of France when your forefathers have always been running away, that no, you cannot be reliable. That particular factor influenced majority of the French voters. The records are there. If you look at, there's this weekly, hebdomadaire, that's Le Point. No, Le Point. They call it Le Point.
Okay.
The records are there. They show quite right that, oh, your father left the war front to escape, and you now want we people who waited to fight. Please, those factors are always there. These are the critical issues that will define who may be elected in final submission. You see, the second round, I will agree with Professor Akinyemi that during the second round, generally, the French are very, suspicious of communism, left-wing voters, etc. along. Marine Le Pen, even his father, her father, during his life has been suffering from that. And generally, the French are against Americans. They don't like American claim to superiority, all those things all along. So, while some people want to vote for Marine Le Pen, the bitter truth is that at the end of the day, the conservatives, the Gaullists, the rightists, and the centrists are most likely to favor. I think that Macron will be re-elected.
Okay. On that note, Professor David Awurawa, let me bring you into the conversation. Where are you going to start from? KBJ, Ketanji Jackson in the United States, or the fact that Nigeria has overtaken Iraq as a country with the highest cases of terrorist attacks, either by the Islamic State or by ISWAP? Or perhaps you want to talk about the PDP, along the lines of the conversations with Chief Olabode George and Prince Diono Odeyemi.
Well, let me begin from home. Let me begin with the PDP zoning conundrum. The Chief Bode George and the other guests who spoke after him, they spoke glibly that PDP has this mechanism for internal conflict resolution, and consequently, they are confident that the contradictions will be resolved and PDP will not implode. I don't think the reality on ground speaks to their optimism. I think the PDP is between the rock and the hard place. There is the moral imperative that the presidency should come to the South in 2023. That is one. And then there is the reality of who can deliver the goods. Which candidate will stand that will be able to win election and rest far from APC. Those are the two, issues that confront them. In addition to the ambitions of, prominent members of the party. For instance, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar. He thinks that this will be his last chance. If he doesn't get it now, he will never get it. And he's very, determined to get it. Should the party zone president to the South, it means that he will never be Nigeria's president. If it is thrown open, you have a chance to, contest, and he may emerge the party's flag bearer. So those are the issues. If they throw it open, How do they explain to Southerners that that moral imperative that the president should come to the South is not important? And if they don't throw it open, if eventually they say, okay, let it go to the South, how are they sure that the candidate that we met from the South will be able to win the election after the primaries? These are the issues they are confronted with. And the candidates involved are not taking it lightly. Governor Wike is not joking. And Saraki is not joking either. So it's not as simple as they have presented it. There was a matter you raised, there was a question you asked Chief Body Judge, regarding people who have bought forms and all that. I don't think that's an issue. The party should be able to easily refund money to those who may not contest should zoning take place. But the main issue is whether the characters involved, the individuals involved, who are determined to, emerge as the party's flag bearer, whether they would keep the peace and maintain the party's unity, should someone else emerge as the party's flag bearer. Like I said last week, who will win the 2020 election, APC or PDP, a major factor will be their capacity to maintain their unity, their capacity to maintain oneness, after the primaries. That will be a key factor in whether they're able to win the presidential election or not. Because right now, they are very close, almost 50-50. If you look at the recent elections, Abuja, the by-elections in Plateau and all other places, in recent times. So let us wait and see whether the optimism comes to fruition, whether they're able to resolve their contradictions and present a candidate that will be able to win the election and that others will support. Those are issues that the next couple of weeks will reveal. On the issue of Nigeria overtaking Iraq in terms of violence and terrorism, well, it is not too surprising if you look at the trend of events in the last couple of weeks. The train, the terrorist attack on the train from Abuja to Kaduna, the attack on the military just a couple of days after that, and the invasion of several villages in Kaduna, in Niger, and other places in the days, following the train attack. And don't forget, the airport was also attacked the week before the train attack. There are a few countries in the world where we have had so much violence in recent times. Maybe Ukraine, where there's a full-blown war. It's difficult to identify any other country where violence has been as intense as it has been in Nigeria in the last couple of weeks. So it is not surprising, and it's very disturbing and concerning. By now, we're thinking that a major bombarding of the terrorists, since we know where they are, we know their camps. Those who were abducted in the course of the train attack, some of them have been released, so we know where they are. We thought that a lot more action will have, taken place by now. But it just seems as if the usual is what has, prevailed. That is that we still keep saying, we want to be cautious, we want to, and all that. And, they are emboldened by the day. So we are appealing to government to be more active. We cannot just continue like this. So it is not, to sum up, it's not surprising that that assessment that Nigeria has overtaken Iraq, because we have experienced unprecedented violence in the last couple of weeks, in the last couple of months. We hope that we'll be able to find a way around it, such that, because of course, when there is peace, when there is tranquility, when there is stability, there's no development. When there is lack of peace, lack of tranquility, lack of stability, of course, what we have will be usually arrested development. So it's something that a change of tactics, a change of activity is required, such that this trend does not continue the way we have had it in the last couple of weeks and the last couple of months.
Professor Awurawa.
Those are my thoughts.
Yes, thank you very much. Well said. Well, let's go back to the United States. More problems for Will Smith following his infamous Oscars slap. The actor has now been banned from the Academy for 10 years after smacking comedian Chris Rock at the ceremony 2 weeks ago. The star had already resigned his membership following his outburst and released a public apology, saying his behavior was shocking and inexcusable. He has given up his voting rights and has agreed to accept any consequences issued from the disciplinary committee. Well, Chike, let me come to you quickly. Well, I mean, he said he did it for love.
No,
okay.
That was
his
no
wife,
love.
Jada
No,
Pinkett Smith.
no.
You know,
Even Jada.
He said, oh, don't mention my wife.
Don't mind that guy. Even Jada herself right now is saying, you know, this guy was definitely clearly unhinged. But you see, the whole thing, if you asked me, Will needs to go for great psychological reevaluation. That lady, that wife of his, has over the years messed his mind up. And I think those internal contradictions was what we saw at play. Chris Rock will be my man of the year forever, that he handled with such grace that kind of disgraceful behavior. The truth is that Will Smith, as far as I'm concerned, should have controlled himself. And if we look at the pictures that came out of the Grammys that night, in fact, when the joke was breaking, he actually was laughing. You know, he found it funny. Then I think he looked at his wife, saw that look she gave to him, which was like, wow, are you going to be there when this is being said about me? And then he just lost it. So, you know, all in all, I think it's a big pity for Will, such a quintessential talent. I don't know whether this girl was sent to come and ruin him. Now he's been suspended for 10 years, which I think is the least the Grammys will do to him. He has behaved in a most atrocious manner, a manner he himself alluded to was totally inexcusable. I don't know. It's just a mess, if you ask me, Ruben. I think.
I guess the big lesson of it is that you know, for every act there are consequences.
Definitely.
And that there are ways in which you can behave in the public arena.
Yes.
And people must learn to manage their anger. Otherwise, if you feel so angry, then you walk away from it.
You know, quickly before I leave, I think the whole thing started with that entanglement thing when Jada went and had an affair with their son's, you know, age mate. And she put him through that disgraceful interview at that time, whether the guy was even drugged or something. So I think all his life, he's been trying to find a kind of acceptance from this lady, which, you know, the woman is just not giving to him. The woman, in fact, if you ask me, is in love with a dead man. She's in love with Tupac. And she's still in love with Tupac. Even their son, their daughter, Willow, in a tweet, did allude to it. So it's just a mess.
This is a psychology of human difference.
It's just a mess.
As Professor Akintenewa puts it, open relationships may not be allowed in some parts of the world, but between Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith,
you can see,
it looks like he said he did it for love. It's an expression of love. Professor Akintenewa, I mean, you are a Frenchman, very romantic.
You see, I look at the problem differently. The slapping is not the issue for me. What really constitutes the major problem is how to manage, how to reconcile a provocative, action and an aggressive reaction, particularly in terms, of the resultant inequality of pains. Now, you have a sort of provocative action. The comedian, Rock, made a joke to ensure that people can laugh, can smile, can be happy. But reactively, Smith looked at it as an offense, decided to go and slap. Now, in interhuman relationships, and particularly bearing in mind that Bianca Ojukwu and Obiano in Nigeria, the issue of slapping too was there. Now, it's becoming a critical problem in the conduct and management of human affairs especially when somebody provokes you, but you will not be able to manage your reactive disposition to it. I think this is what we should begin to look at, so that it does not just become an issue of, you say, like Ruben rightly talked about, there are always consequences for whatever action you take. So in terms of political governance in Nigeria, in terms of drawing a lesson for Nigeria, there is the need to begin to caution, to train people to say that, look, you must learn to take what, I've forgotten this novel, The Passport of Malam Ilya.
Yes, the Passport of Malam Ilya.
Yes, precisely. We need to take medicine against steel in such a way that you are not provoked with minor jokes.
Okay, Professor Awurawa, very quickly, so that I can take our last topic of the day.
Yeah, Dr. But when I watched the thing that night, I actually thought they had rehearsed, that they were just, it was part of the entertainment of, the event of the night. Because I couldn't just believe that someone would stand up from that event that billions were watching all over the world and go and slap, the man was making jokes. It's really shocking. Later, when it was established that he went to slap him because he got angry, I just couldn't fathom it. In 2022. So, I think the major issue has to do with anger management. Usually, when you take, take a position or an action is taken in response to something that annoys you, in that anger, in that annoyance, you usually will make mistakes. So, the lesson from it is, anger management. When you are angry, don't take major decisions. You can walk away, you can stroll away and all that. Will Smith, consummate actor, someone I respect a lot. I enjoy his acting. It's really, really disheartening that this happened, and now he has been banned for 10 years. But talking about the issue of consequences, we can see when Bianca slapped Obiano's wife, people were clapping. They said there was a slapper, there was a slappy, and there was slappy. The people were clapping for Bianca. I didn't clap because one shouldn't do that in public. She said self-defense. I'm not sure if that was self-defense, but here in Nigeria there was no consequence. In the US, we don't have consequences for Will Smith. But taking together, one should learn to manage his anger, especially in public when provoked, so that one does not disgrace himself and then bring himself into this kind of mess that Will Smith now finds himself.
Just stretch your point about the difference between Nigeria and the United States further. Mrs. Osodieme Obiano, after that incident at the inauguration of Professor Charles Soludo, he's now running for a position in the Senate. She says she wants to go to the Senate, and she has been shown dancing all over the place, in a very stylish manner. I don't know what the motivation is for that, considering that her husband, has, other issues that he's dealing with shortly after he left office. So that's Nigeria for you. But in some other communities, it's not the same.
No, it's a joke. He's just joking. It's a joke. He just wants to entertain. I think it's a joke.
Well, you never know. You never know. Go and take the profile of the persons in the Senate of the Federal Republic. Some of them went there straight from prison. They even won the election from prison. In any case, I don't mean to put down Nigeria, but these are some of the realities with the world. Let's take our final topic of the day. President Muhammadu Buhari has signed into law Executive Order number 11 on National Public Buildings Maintenance. The signing of the document preceded the weekly virtual Federal Executive Council meeting at the Council Chambers Presidential Villa, Abuja. Speaking shortly before appending his signature, President Buhari directed all ministries departments and agencies, MDAs, to set up maintenance departments in line with the provisions of the new executive order. He said the order gave legal backing to the country's national maintenance policy, following its earlier approval by the Federal Executive Council, adding that government had already started utilizing the policy to give facelift to some of its buildings, such as Federal Secretariat, Abuja, and 24 others across the country. Professor Awurawo, let me come back to you quickly. Well, you know, we often say that the problem in Nigeria is maintenance. It's not just about public buildings. We don't have a maintenance culture. Roads collapse, buildings are not maintained. Even the national grid collapsed 3 times in one day, just a few days ago. Or is it in 1 month? Well, you know, sometimes it's in 1 day even, you know. So the people are agonizing. The pipelines are not working because people are looking for something in the pipelines, have broken those pipelines. Do you think that this Executive Order 11 will make any difference, particularly with the culture of maintenance? Let's take it from there quickly. We have just a few more minutes.
Well, the Executive Order number 11 is in order. Is in response to a major problem we have, which is, maintenance. We've always complained about that. But I see beyond just signing the order. Whether the order will impact positively on the country and Nigerians generally or not will be determined by what is done, to implement that order. Will funds be set aside, for maintenance? Will the funds, if they are set aside, be judiciously utilized, to maintain those buildings? Will those funds, such funds not be taken away by individuals? Will it not be frittered away? Will the maintenance arrangement not be given to individuals who will not do the job and they share the money? These are the details that, will determine whether that executive order, fulfills the purpose for which it was signed or not. So the order is in order, and it is expected to impact positively on public infrastructure in Nigeria. But just like I said, what will determine whether it meets the need and fulfills the objective will be the details that follow. Setting aside funds for maintenance and ensuring judicious, utilization of such funds if they are set aside. If that is done, then we'll be in order. Otherwise, it will just be a mere ritual of signing an order, which will make no impact on our national development.
Okay, thank you. Well, over to you, Chike.
Well, Prof. Awurawo has highlighted it. It's not about signing of the order. We have a lot of laws in Nigeria because this whole idea of having executive orders, which this government has seemed to, made very popular. I don't even know how, with our own particular kind of constitutionalism we practice in Nigeria, how relevant it is, and whether it is even the appropriate thing to do. But be that as it may, I know that most of the things they do in government have the relevant statutes and laws that back them. So definitely, we know one of the biggest problems we have in this country. The other day I was driving past the National Stadium. I felt like crying. I remember in those days, not so many years ago, but quite a while ago, when we were in university, we'll go to that beautiful National Arts Theatre, where we used to go and watch all these foreign bands that used to come and play. Dynasty, Ben Bruce used to bring all those guys in, and it was a day out. And of course, that place went totally to the ground. Now I know the Bankers Committee are trying to do something, but I think there's even some legal issues there. These are part of what I'm saying. So it's not about the idea of what you want to do. How are you doing it within the framework of the law? So if the right things are put in place and they put the right laws and regulations in place and monies are indeed voted for, maintaining these things, of course it will be a welcome development. Because in Nigeria, we have situations where, look at what happened to the Akwambo Bridge the other day. See the kind of devastation that thing has caused to that flyover. Because traders are right beneath there, selling things, cooking things, turned up in their homes, their shops, there's everything. A whole human habitation is going on there. So those are the kind of things I assume, what the president is trying to do. Of course, maintain our public edifices, our public buildings. But like Prof highlighted, please, those monies that have been appropriated for this should be, judiciously used. And, there should be some accountability. Maybe when we see the order, then we can know whether it is being warehoused under the Ministry of Works or Ministry of Housing, or which each department and agency will have it and all of that. So when we see everything, then we can know exactly whether it's just a matter of rehashing what we normally do all the time, or if indeed this will be a departure from the norm.
Well, Professor Akintola, the last word on this subject.
I want to agree to disagree with my two brothers. The two of them agree that the order is in order. I only agree to a limited extent that, yes, the order is in order at the level of its making. But in terms of its resultant, effect, I think the order has the potential to be very disorderly. One justification is this. Let me quote what the president said. The president is on record to have said that at least 40 people are now daily employed in each of the 24 federal government secretariats in various states. He's saying, and I ask, what is the meaning of at least 40 people are now daily employed in each of those 24 secretariats? Are they daily paid workers? If they are not daily paid workers, are you employing them about 40 on daily basis? What prevents you from recruiting a particular number of employees? That's the first point. What is the nature of the daily maintenance in this case? Are you talking about cleaners? What about the protection, physical protection, security of the building, the assets itself? Now, is the physical protection of buildings, when the maintenance will lead the tar inferno, burning of buildings? You know quite well that here in Nigeria, it is sufficient to steal money. Any public building where there is fire, it is always the accounts department. Now, when you are talking about maintenance, will the maintenance include or not include all this? Because these are the critical issues there. For me, the problem is not a lack of departments to maintain. No, please. The critical problem is that government officials try to avoid managing, maintaining problems. They wait until the problem becomes critical. Then they make it contractual. I think what Buba Marwa did, I think in 1996, Buba Marwa paid a courtesy visit to this day in Ikeja, around Toyin. And he pleaded with the media that, look, in Lagos, I do not want potholes. Anywhere you have problems, where you need maintenance, please, journalists, when you see this, draw my attention to it, and I will handle that. Please, for God's sake, the street on which this day was located in 1996 was never tarred. No, you don't have gutters, you don't have all those things. But when we drew the attention of Buba Marwa to it, the next 48 hours, he sent some people to come and investigate. In fact, he was the one who tarred, put bitumen on that street, to the extent that the people on that street began to give respect to Oba Igbina this day to say, look, we are enjoying the influence. Please, you do not need to create a special department that will now begin or serve as a foundation again to be looting money, etc. All the ministries, in fact, I do not know of any MDA that does not have a department for maintenance. I worked as an audit clerk in a teaching hospital in 1970. There's a maintenance department in that hospital. And then everywhere you have this department, but make it functional. So don't create avenues for stealing by creating a new department.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Bola Akintola. Thank you, Chikesi Ogia. And thank you very much, Professor David Awurawo. I look forward to seeing you all again next Sunday. You've been watching This Day Live, this Sunday talk show, here on Arise News. I'm Ruben Abati. For my entire team here in Lagos, it's bye for now, and thank you very much for watching.